Hey, everybody! Welcome. I am Julie Murphy, and we are going to help you awaken your health today. And I always say that we either work things out or we act it out, and we do it through our money, through our health, or through our relationships. So I am definitely not in the health field, but my buddy Nam here is. And
Yes,
he's
ma'am.
actually helped me with my personal health. So I'm going to out myself a little bit today to share some of my nitty gritty about my health stuff that Nam has really helped me through. Nam,
Yes.
say hello to everybody.
What's up, beautiful people? I am Nam Bazakis, and I am here to talk and help you guys understand some pretty cool stuff that I've been getting into as far as new biohacks and ways to optimize your health. And we're gonna mix it in with some wealth information and tie it all in together because they are all interconnected. So thank you
They
guys for
really
joining.
are.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. You and I have been on this journey. We've been, boy, we've done shamanic journeys together. You've pricked my finger and analyzed my blood under a microscope, and you've introduced me to IV therapies. It's been really quite amazing. And I have to say, people keep saying to me, Julie, you look like you're 10 years younger. And I'm like, why, thanks. I have Nam to thank for that.
Yeah, I'm really
Because
proud of you.
oh, thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you so
absolutely.
much. I am grateful for that because I couldn't have done it without your coaching, man. Because again, I can analyze a stock portfolio and help you get
Right.
your cash flows in alignment, but I'm not really the body part is where my stuff acts out at. And
Well, and like right now, in this age that we're moving into, the age of Aquarius, it's really important to get into the more communal, like supporting each other. People's values and morals are changing, and we have to start relying on the people that are close to us in our lives, uh, as a more like almost like bartering kind of system, but like an evolved kind of way, right? Like people's value systems are dramatically shifting, especially with the volatility in all the different markets. Nobody
right.
really knows. Like you cannot plan like years down the road right now because you don't know what it's going to look like.
Well,
So
and this is where it's so important to stay flexible and nimble. If it's the one
yeah,
thing I always say that I have 11 brothers and sisters, and I always said like I wonder how my children are actually going to learn how to be resilient and adaptable the way I did because I have 11 brothers and sisters. Well, hello pandemic. That has literally been building that skill set for my kids, and
mm,
um, and those of us who have been inflexible, you
uh
might be
huh,
experiencing from a health perspective like you're constipated or you're like your body like actually tells
yeah,
you like you're being inflexible. How do you know
yeah,
that? Well, you can't
serious,
poop, right? Like
serious aches and pains in the body too, headaches, inability to sleep, all those kind of things are all like we have to break through that mold of really
right.
it's all being in the head. Like when we're in our head, we're trying to figure things out. Look, the way things are evolving are not logical. There's no that like
For
if you try
sure.
to think logically right now, you're gonna get lost in the sauce. You have to be
Mm,
in your heart and feel your way through it. But if you're afraid to feel your feelings, that's what I'm seeing with a lot of people right now. People are afraid to feel what's going on because it may require a major change in their life, and people don't want to change. People want their safety and security. It's a battle between growth and evolution and safety and security.
how true is that statement? Because we can't really actually evolve if we don't feel safe. Like I often people will say to me going, "Why do you do your financial planning process that way?" And I say, "Well, it's because a lot of times, particularly like if a couple comes to me, one's
Mm-hmm.
more dominant on the money side than the other one, and
Right.
the other reason why the other one is like not plugged in on the money stuff because it's not a safe container for them to actually have their viewpoint or to do things their way because there's a
Right.
lot of shame, blame, guilt, and judgment. And I'm finding that that is across the board in relationships, in our health
Mm.
world, and I keep saying, I had someone say to me today that, you know, it's really unfortunate back in their country because they're not from the United States. They said
Okay.
it's terrible. All these doctors and nurses are not being able to go to work because they don't want the vaccine. And I certainly don't want to get into the argument of vax or no vax. I actually think that's just part of the evolution process
Yeah.
that that we're being challenged
Mm-hmm.
by. But and I cannot help but think that even here in the United States, there's been over 1 million nurses that have opted to leave their jobs. Do you think
Yeah.
those people are going to stop wanting to help people from a health perspective? No,
No, hell
It's
no.
going to lead to incredible volumes of
Yeah.
innovation and creativity.
Yep.
And I'll bet when we look back 10 years from now, we're going to see this enormous pop in wellness stuff instead of a sick system, because our
Yep.
healthcare system is not wellness, it's a sick system.
Yeah.
And
It's
I'll
sick
bet we
brand.
start to see more of this stuff pop up over here. So maybe like that's the purpose of the divide between get the
It
vax,
is.
not get the vax. Like we can argue about it at this level, but let's take it up here. Let's be
Yeah.
more conscious,
And
right?
I think it's going to happen a lot faster than that
Mm.
because I work with a lot of doctors and nurse practitioners and registered nurses. Really, every single one of them that I've been talking to is looking for a way out. Is looking for a way to start their own thing, open up their own practice.
Mm.
At these three doctors I know have started their own IV clinics, right? Or whatever it is that they're passionate about. Like
Like that sleeve. That's so true. I just met a cardiologist who was top of his game in when I was just in Colorado Springs, and he started this integrated medicine place at the Garden of the Gods Resort. And
wow,
he's like,
nice.
I got tired of having to punch a clock every 20 minutes. I had to get out of this exam room and get into this exam room to maximize profitability for the hospital when
Right.
I'm not able to care for people the way that I want to care for people. And I'm actually helping about 4 doctors right now as we speak to retire earlier because they don't want to be in that system anymore.
Ooh,
So
okay.
fascinating that you're saying that. And I'm
Yeah,
also helping people on the health side, in the medical system try to get out of that as well. That's interesting that we're both seeing that. And we've never talked about that before, which is
yeah, right.
fascinating.
Beautiful. That's a double down confirmation that it's happening at a very deep level. Not only that industry though, but
Oh, it's happening in finance too. Right. It's happening in the
well,
government.
everywhere. I've also seen personally. I've seen a lot in like the first responder community, like
Oh,
firemen,
yeah.
police, and anybody that's working with like the legal system or having to handle issues with all this defund the police business. And I feel like people are going to start coming together, almost like militias or like a different kind of sort of like uh safety policing kind of system, sort of like how people hire private investigators for things. Well, it's going to be more. Again, they're going to be focusing on the issues that that they are passionate about. Like for example, we're seeing a lot of different groups coming together for child sex trafficking and things like that. Right now, it's
Well,
under.
yeah, the woman that I do Awaken Your Relationships with said that domestic violence now in relationships is up like 80%
Mm,
since the
yeah,
pandemic started. And it's
yeah,
like,
it's ridiculous.
holy crap, that's a lot. So in essence, we have all this turmoil that's flipping over. And this is one of the that kind of fits into a theme that you and I were talking about before we got on, was about the
Mhm.
fact that our health is affected when we're operating from this place of fear. And it's like, well, but
Yeah.
we got all this change going on in all these different avenues of the world right now, in your
Mhm.
small community groups to the world at large. It's happening to everybody.
Yep.
And that increases people's fear level, but fear then deteriorates your body.
Right.
This
Right.
is a problem.
Right. So we have to face those fears. And a lot of people that haven't done this deep inner work, they're getting hit like tenfold. Like it's like you got to level up now. And honestly, I think that's a big reason why a lot of souls are choosing to leave this earth right now. Some
Mm.
people it's just too much fear, too much resistance coming up, and it's literally like going like think about it this way, like when you have a spiritual awakening, right? Essentially, it's like a kundalini activation in your body, and then it exposes all these blockages and energy. Well, when that shit comes up really fast and you're super blocked and you're not willing to look at it, it's going to throw it out of whack so much that
Really?
something's going to happen, right? So we
Right.
have to
And
be willing to go into our heart and just feel those blocks, because really at the very core of everything, like it's a blockage in the heart chakra where
mm,
things that happen during childhood or things that have happened, or maybe like you're in a marriage or relationship that you're 70% happy but you feel obligated because of the situation, you know that kind of scenario, right?
Yeah. 4 kids. No one in my family ever divorced, and then I get divorced, and it's just like, oh.
Yeah, yeah, right.
But for those of you who don't know my story, that back in 2015, I had gotten a call from 7 different people, from an estate planning attorney who's gay, which that's even funnier that he was having a dream about me having breast cancer. That's just funny in itself. But
Wow.
then a friend from grammar school, a fellow business owner, 7 people within 2 week time period called me up and said, I had a really big dream that you need to go get a mammogram. And I was like, what?
Oh,
Because I was still a little bit young to start getting a mammogram, but I was like,
right.
weird. My mom did have breast cancer, but so then I finally decided to listen, and I went, and sure as shit, there was a lump. And I was like, I teach this stuff. We either work it out or we act it out through our money or through our health. And I'm the money chick, so my money side's fine. So I was like,
Right.
what the hell's going on? Where am I not showing up in the world where I am, putting my own needs and desires? Because breast cancer represents, if you read books by like Louise Hay, it's emotional processing. And I was
Hmm.
putting everybody else ahead of myself. And so I started to address that. And I found myself that year going through marriage counseling. And then I found myself, and every quarter as I did my work, that lump, they just wanted to watch it. It
Right. Right.
dissipated, it dissipated, it dissipated. And then after 12 months, every 3 months, it shrunk. After 12
Wow.
months, it was gone. What
That's
happened after 12 months? Within 2 months of being cleared for 6 months to not have to go get another mammogram, all of a sudden I was like, I'm on this health kick. I'm getting healthier. Let me go get my blood drawn. Blah, 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 blah. Go to this
uh,
integrated medicine person, and they're like, you have an autoimmune disease brewing. I'm like, oh, no,
oh.
you didn't. Oh, no. I'm like, again, I teach this. I do not need to manifest a crisis
Right.
to
Right.
shift my life, because this is what I really want people to hear this. And I remember a friend of mine, I was sailing with them one day, and he's like, you can't tell me that my brother actually created cancer in his body. And I'm going, yes.
Well.
Well,
Yeah.
because we are the creators of our lives. And I
Right.
know, you guys, it's no different than when I sat in and felt the fact that, oh my God, I actually created my marriage. It's not actually all about him. I
Of
did
course.
that too. There's
Yeah.
a
Yeah. You have
grieving
that ability.
process when you start to actually go to the inside to say, how am I showing up in the world? And how is that creating my physical body? How is that
Right.
creating, my relationships? How is that creating my money reality? And
Hmm.
when you can actually start to look at that, you know, there's a grounding process that happens.
No
But this
doubt.
fear that everybody's dealing with, like to your point, that people are choosing to get off the planet and diseases are amplifying. Like, I
Hmm.
look at some of the most fear-based people that I know were the ones that wound up with coronavirus, which
Yep.
I was like, and there's nothing proven on this. It was just my own personal observation.
Right.
And
But
look
that's
at even
exactly
people
about.
who have had breast cancer. If you know that, they're probably women who take care of everybody else except for themselves. That's
Yep.
another common theme, right?
Absolutely.
Every disease has this shtick to it. So talk to us. I'm going to stop talking because clearly I can talk.
That's a good thing, right?
Tell us what you see from a body perspective when people are not processing their fears, and how the disease develops in their body, and how to start to. You've taught me some amazing biohacks to hack my body to
Woo.
quantum leap myself to the next place, and that
Yeah.
might be another time that we talk about some of those, because God knows we could talk about a lot.
Oh, yes, we can. Yeah, I've been working with a lot of people. I've noticed that since this whole thing started, my gifts have been amplified quite a bit, and it's taking me some adjustment to be able to handle it, because it's been so like overwhelming almost. Um,
Mm.
but people are seeking like answers, but the problems in the body are like you said, getting super amplified. And once we finally get them to understand, that you got to drop in your heart, you got to feel the feelings, you got to know. It all comes down to your belief systems, right? Do you believe that, like you're going to get sick? Do you believe that you're going to be broke? Do you believe that you're not going to be okay once you make changes to go
So
in,
true.
in the direction of growth? And this is all astrologically speaking, this is all Uranus and Taurus, right? Taurus represents things that we value, things that we love, like physical, like, pleasures, our values, morals, and ethics. So if we've been living by a certain system of rules and regulations for ourselves, like, most people, you grow up, right? And you're like, okay, well, my goals is I want to make this amount of money a year. I want to be in this kind of shape. I want to have a marriage with a partnership like this. I want to have kids, blah, blah, blah. Right. You do all that. And then you structure it so that it's rigid, but that rigidity helps you to stay centered, aligned, right? Well, that day, that age, that's the age of
It is
Pisces.
gone.
That's
It's
no longer,
gone.
yeah,
Gosh, you're sitting here talking, Nam, and I'm going, well, that was this conversation with a client this week. This was a conversation. I had this young kid who years ago interned with me when he was in college.
oh,
And
wow,
I was so sad when this kid, like, he just soaked in everything I had to teach, right? And
beautiful.
he's like, he graduates, and I was like, dude, all right, so let's do this. You're going to be a planner with me. And he's like, no, I'm going somewhere else. And I was like, oh,
Oh,
this kid got a hold of me. You're talking now, this kid's almost 40 now. So he's been out of school a
oh,
while,
wow.
right? So he's
Okay.
been out of school a while. And he got in touch with me and he goes, Jewel, because I met with him about 6 months ago for the first time. And he goes, can
Oh,
I meet with you again? I was like, sure. And part of me was still like, well, maybe he'll come in. Maybe he'll be part of the team.
uh-huh.
And I watched exactly what you said. He built all the stuff outside. He built up a business and then he doubled his size because he bought this other business with a relationship that he established with an older planner and rock and rolling. And on paper, this kid's got it going on. He's
Yeah.
got well over 100 million under assets under management that he manages,
Wow.
providing really well for his family. And he goes, Jewel, I got to all the goals. Like, I got the wife, I got the kids, I got the business. It's all. And I go, honey, you forgot your heart.
Yeah.
And he was like, huh? He's a finance guy, right? He's
Wah,
like,
wah,
huh?
wah.
And I go, okay, let me tell you. In my first book, The Emotion Behind Money, I talk about the fact that if you, men particularly, between 55 and 65, 50% of my male clients in that age range develop cancer around their hip area.
Oof.
50%.
Yeah, that's a
That's
lot.
all first and second chakra, right?
Yep.
And so I started to ask myself, I did a lot of work with Deepak Chopra back years ago, and he used to say that a cancer cell developed because that cell had lost its sense of purpose. How'd
Yeah.
these guys lose their sense of purpose? So I started asking them, like, how are you plugging into the world? How do you like what you do? Every one of those men were let go of their jobs not by their choice.
Oof.
Every one of them. So men put that provider hat on very
Yep.
seriously. And then when the job says, we don't need you anymore, the kids are grown, wife's kind of on to her next second career, right?
Right. Now what do we
And
do?
he forgot his soul all along the way because he was being such an amazing provider for his family.
Right.
So you have to bring your heart and soul. So this is the conversation that I had with this kid. I'm like, or dude, it's so predictable to me. You're going to have cancer somewhere around your hip area in about 15, 20 years. And, I don't know what to tell you, but you need to filter all your decisions through your heart.
Yeah.
And that's why the subtitle of my book is Building Your Wealth from the Inside Out.
It's beautiful.
Because otherwise you break down physiologically. Because you can have all the money in the world. I know people who are worth $50 million and they are not happy. Why?
Yeah.
Because they left their heart on the side. They
Yeah.
forgot to bring themselves along through the process. They did all these things that society says was right. And honest to
Right.
God, you said it. The energy today is, and where the world is today, is not going to allow that to happen like it has in the past. You're going to
Nope.
get, pardon my French, bitch slapped
Uh-huh.
by whether it's a crisis of a disease, a crisis of a job loss, a crisis of something
Right.
that's going to try to put you back in alignment with your heart.
Yeah. And
That's at least been my experience,
yeah, and even right now, that there with all this going on. Well, first, I actually worked on a guy yesterday. He's worth maybe 20-30 million. And the same kind of scenario, right? But I actually sat in a ceremony with him this past weekend, and we were doing like more like heart medicine, heart openers. What I'm noticing, a lot of people that are new to this world, going straight to like ayahuasca or combo, like some people can't handle that stuff, right? Sometimes
Yeah,
we need.
no, it's so funny that you say that because that's definitely, I'm like going, I had this one client who obviously was watching one of my videos and goes, at the end of the appointment, goes, so I'm really clear I need to talk to you about ayahuasca. And I was like,
Ah.
why? And he goes, really? And I go, okay. And so that's the shamanic. Those of you who aren't aware, so there's traditional methods in all these ancient tribes from South America, Central America, and I was introduced to some of this stuff years ago. My aunt, in her 20s, went and lived with Native Americans up in South Dakota. So
Ooh.
years, I don't know if I've ever told you that.
No, you didn't.
Yeah, and what's been happening is like all of a sudden the Native American stuff is really resonating with me. I'm going, and my aunt continues to like, I can feel like her presence. I can feel like I'm getting information. I'm going, it's almost like her knowledge is being passed to me for what she learned because she's no
Okay.
longer with us. And it's been fascinating to me. That's actually how I met Nam.
Yeah. Okay.
And they're out of the box ways to heal your body. And some of them you may resonate with, and some of them you may not resonate with.
It's so funny that you say out of the box ways, because really these medicines have been around before all this artificial medicine in this modern society. So this is
Right?
actually coming back to, like the foundation of humanity, of who
Totally.
we are as a species,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
So I've been doing different tiers or like layers of like intensity, if you will, with different kind of medicines. And so I sat in ceremony with this guy, and then the next day he came over, and I've been experimenting with new ways of doing my healing work. So we I could sense something like deeply lodged or embedded in his heart that he was struggling to let go of. And I worked on him and his friend. And when I worked on him, we did a Bufo enhanced sort of vibroacoustic bodywork session, right? So
That sounds like a new language.
I am blending and mixing like these ancient medicines with
Yeah.
modern technology, and
Beautiful.
it's really bringing things to like a whole nother level. But what I noticed is, so I go into this space with them, and he's on the sound lounge, which is like a vibrational bed that I play very specific medicine songs with that help to prayers and like chants to help purge all this energy.
Totally.
And I'm literally like I'm going around, and initially I just put my hand on his heart and I started breathing, and it literally started sucking. It felt like this, and this is might sound a little out there for some people, but it felt like it was. Have you seen that Hydra thing in the in the V?
No.
There's a video going on like that's going viral about this microscopic thing that they found in the V that is called a hydra something, which it's this weird self-aware microscopic little squid that looking thing almost, but it has like 10 tentacles that come out, and it's supposedly indestructible. Well, it felt like something like that energetically was wrapped around his heart, and I started sucking it out, and it was literally like an exorcism. He started like groaning like this weird like guttural groan, and his body started convulsing, and I pulled it out, and it took probably about 10-15 minutes, but then it went through me. Like it's like I sucked it out into me, and
Yeah,
then,
when you do work with people like this, like that even happens financially. It's like when you're
really,
the person who's working, it's almost like you're pulling the energy and the patterns out of people.
yeah,
And it's got to, I'm actually teaching this to one of my daughters because she does this naturally. She doesn't even realize she does this. And
yeah,
I'm just like, oh, honey, you got to make sure that it passes through you. She's like, well, how do I do that, mom? And she's
yeah.
telling me all this stuff, how she naturally does it. It's funny when you're kids, you
Wow.
naturally do all these things. But when we're
Right.
grown-ups, it's like we move away from it. It's like, no, 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 no. We can actually do this. And so like I'm teaching her how to get it to move through her at 8 years
Okay.
old. And I'm like going, this is
Wow.
fascinating to me
That is fascinating.
because I'm learning it at the same time, which is
Right.
even more interesting, you
Wow.
know?
That's amazing.
So this moved out of this, so you were able to move it out and through, which
Yeah.
which I know to your point, this sounds like, what is this guy talking about? But if I didn't, everybody who's watching, if I didn't have these personal experiences myself, I
Hmm.
wouldn't believe it either. Remember, I'm a finance person, left brain logical, highly educated, master's degree, MBA, la 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 la.
Uh-huh.
So I've got the ABC 1 2 3s after my name, right?
Oh,
But Nam, what I've come to learn is that if you don't shift these things that Nam is talking about, like how he helped this guy shift it out of his heart, that is the layering and the crystallization in your body that then creates the disease. It's like
right.
the precursor to the disease, right? And all these ancient tribes knew this. They all knew
Right.
this.
Exactly. Exactly. And they made like from the way that we portray like indigenous people, we make them look like they're like children compared to us. When in reality, they know they are so far more advanced than we are. And they stay away from all the modern stuff that's really killing us all in our modern
Mm.
society. But it's what's really beautiful is I'm seeing that we're bringing this stuff back in droves. Like so many people are seeking this kind of healing. But on top of the stuff that we're going on this lifetime, we're clearing a lot of ancestral stuff too, right? Two, three,
Yeah,
four generations back.
that's what happens. They say that in those tribes, it's that it gets 7 generations back and seven
Yeah,
generations. Like you're clearing it for generations forward, and you're clearing it for every 7 generations back.
yeah,
Yeah, it's
yeah.
fascinating. And this is where it's like when people come to me for money stuff. I'm like, I'm going to say things that are out of the box. I'm going to ask you questions that other planners are not going to ask you. Just keep an
Hmm.
open mind. So,
Yeah,
like
that's
if you're
all.
somebody who's struggling right now and you're like going, I see people dying around me. I see things around me and I'm going, I'm not going down that path. So,
Nope.
I'm just saying stay open because on some level, if you're saying you're not going down that path, you're going to be shown things that are out of your normal menu, if you will,
Yeah, yeah,
that
exactly.
you're just going to know it's the right path to go, whatever that is.
Exactly. And
And
then
this is why I bring people on like Nam because he's my out of the box guy. He's my
yeah,
guy.
yeah.
In Chicago,
And,
everybody's got a guy. So you're my
and
guy. Right?
I'm the guy.
You're my guy.
and and that's when like you feel this pull towards this new direction,
I
but that
know.
it's like you feel the pull and then you feel the fear of the pull, right?
Oh,
So
right?
then, so then that confuses your intuition. Like, well, am I going down the wrong path? Am I making a mistake? Blah blah blah. The more that you
So
trust the
true.
heart and trust the process, the more ease you're going to have going into this because it's the resistance to going into that fear. Look, you may not know what actually you're definitely not going to know the outcome because the fact is going through this process is going to change the person that you are. It's going to shed your identity. It's going to transcend the level of the ego that you have right now. It's that identity of the ego that needs that safety and security and that wants to hold on. But our higher self, our heart is opening, whether we like it or not, because the consciousness is raising in vibration, and that's the process of allowing this shit to just move through and move out and trust that okay, I'm getting this overwhelming feeling of going in this direction. I don't know what it means. I don't know where it's going to go. I just know that this is something I have to do.
Right.
And then the people that are with you are in your reality, whether it's, say, you have a lot of gaslighters or you have like people that are relying on you, manipulating you, right? In your life, when you make those decisions to take care of yourself more, they're going to get pissed off.
Oh,
You're
that
going to have to pay
volume
it
goes
back.
up in spades.
Yeah. Yeah,
I know
exactly.
from personal experience.
Right.
And
Right.
and what happened, but that's okay. For years, when you ignore your heart, I remember when, you know, I I was asked multiple times, well, what is your heart desire? I'm like going, well, whatever you did. I didn't realize how much I defaulted to what other people's desires were. And I just rolled with it. And that comes from being one of 12 kids because you can't always get everything that you desire when you have two parents and 12 children, right?
No.
And it just kind of happens that way. And so when I was started to be asked that question as I started to heal and started to hold healthy boundaries and started to do things that were in alignment with me, when I was asked like, well, what does your heart desire? And I was like, I don't
Mm,
know. Because
yeah.
everything that I had built and done and decided on for 40 plus years no longer made sense anymore, because it was what I realized was my fuel was my scarcity patterning
Yeah.
based on a trauma I had when I in my childhood, that then I was interfacing with people based on that trauma.
Right.
And so,
Yeah.
in every human being, and this is all done by biologist Dr. Bruce Lipton, go look up his research if you don't believe us. Dr. Bruce Lipton and all the scientists have proven that we have a subconscious mind and a conscious mind. And 97% of the time, we're responding from our subconscious mind, which is
Yeah.
hardwired before we're 7 years old.
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
when you start to filter it through your heart, your subconscious, you're making all those decisions from your mind. That's what
Mhm.
Nam, right? When you're referring to the ego, you're talking your mind, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Mind, the
And
ego,
uh,
right?
and there's actually a book out there called "The Body Is the Subconscious Mind." Right. So when
Ooh.
we're in our mind, our body is, I mean, our body is always speaking to us, but especially in our mind, that's where we really feel the imbalances hit us physiologically, like pain or, injury or issues in with digestion and, all
Yeah.
these different things. And then what's the first thing most people run to? Things to suppress the symptoms, because that's what we've been taught in our society, right?
It could be as little as ibuprofen or caffeine or eating addictions or working
Exactly.
addictions, whatever. That's the distraction.
Uh-huh. So we have to look at it,
Fascinating.
our distract, and especially that feeling of distraction over
Yeah.
the next couple of years is going to get stronger and stronger as Jupiter moves into Pisces and conjuncts Neptune. Neptune represents the media. It represents illusion and delusion. It represents escapism and addiction, right? So when Jupiter expands everything, right? So we can expect we
Yeah.
can expect the media to get more and more ridiculous. I
Well,
mean,
so it's
it's already at ludicrous speed right now. Like anybody that actually believes the stuff going on TV, I mean, they need a super wake up call.
right. Well, so what's interesting to me is, so I always tell people, like, I need you to drop into what your body's telling you. And they're like, huh? Like, so
Chip, hello.
I'm talking money, right? So I'm like going, well, how do you feel when I talk about you buying that house? And they go, how do I feel? And then they instantly go to telling me how they think and their reasoning. And I go, no, no, no.
Ah,
Like, does your body relax? Does your body tighten up? Does it like what's going on in your physical body? And they literally like,
right.
and this is highly educated people I work with.
And they don't know.
The actually I find that the people who are don't have as many degrees actually are better at following their body
Oh,
intelligence than
right.
those who have a lot of degrees.
Because they've
And
trained their mind so strongly that their
you've
mind is
moved
rock
away from
solid.
your heart.
Uh
I was
huh.
actually really proud. I have to tell this story. So I have this one client years ago came to me saying, I kept saying I want to go into some holistic, but I'm an at-home mom who's going to start to work. My kids started high school, and at some point I got to plug back into the world. And I'm like,
Right.
great. And I'm watching her through the years. She was gaining weight and gaining weight and gaining weight. I'm like, oh, she's not showing up in the world the way she wants to be seen in the world, and she's protecting herself from whatever's coming at her. And
Sure.
I always tell people they have to let their freak flag fly. Or
Yeah.
Denise is good. That's my version of running things through your heart. That you have to live your life from your heart and your soul. That's letting your freak flag fly, because you're being your authentic self.
Yeah.
And what's fascinating to me is that this other financial planner told her, well, why don't you just go get a job at Whole Foods so you can help pay the expenses in your house? And I'm like going, oh, this financial planner didn't get it. Bless her heart, but she didn't
Right.
get it. And I said to her, I go, well, let's just explore it. Do you know, she just told me she got hired by one of the most premier MBA programs in the entire country, which is Kellogg at Northwestern,
Wow.
doing energy work on the students to reduce their stress. I'm going, hell yeah. I was like,
Wow.
yes. Like, this is
That's
a
amazing.
highly educated Big Ten university that is going, we are looking for out of the box. So if you think that Nam and I are talking shit right now about being out of the box, no.
Yeah.
The smartest institutions in the United States are bringing experts in, and you should see this mom is beaming. She's now got her kids in college. She's doing Reiki at Northwestern,
Oh,
and she
damn.
the reason they trusted it because she's a Kellogg graduate.
Okay.
And so they're like, she's one of
Ah,
ours. We don't understand. How is one of
and
ours doing one
that's
of those?
and that's where like the like licenses, the certifications, the stuff on paper that says we are something
Yeah,
is coming in handy for the people that don't really trust. Like you have to almost use that as like a segue
it's your
into
bridge.
the yeah exactly.
So
That's
Nam,
absolutely
let's
amazing.
talk about. I want to walk people through. Like we're talking more up here. Can we kind of let's out me? Ready? Let's talk about what you've helped me do. Right? Like back
Hmm.
in the day, if you watch some of our older films that we did, that are on my channel and they're on
Hmm.
yours too. Where we were talking about, I'll never forget the time you told me that I had to go get like colonics twice a week for like 6 weeks or some stuff like that. I was like, what? And I remember calling you in like week 4 or 5, and I was like, dude, I got all this shit going on inside. Like and you simply said to me, oh yeah, that makes sense. Because what happens is when you're flushing out, it breaks things up. And I'm like, yeah, I saw that old stuff come out because that's the crystallization of emotions not felt.
Yep.
And then you actually said, oh yeah, some of those fragments still stay in your body. So you're just feeling the feelings that you didn't feel like 20 years ago. And I was like, oh,
Yeah.
oh. Because I literally felt cuckoo almost in my inside because I was feeling
Yeah.
all this emotional unrest. And it was
Right.
because I was literally peeling all that stuff out of the sewage system of the human body,
Right.
right?
Right. And then
And
you know,
that was kind of like, okay, Nam is literally redesigning my body with me.
yeah.
And you had another one of those times with me this past June when we came out and saw you in Vegas
Yeah.
when you lived there. And it was so fascinating to me because you started doing microscopy.
Yep.
Well, not started, you've done this for a long time, but you started doing it with me, I should say.
Yeah.
And I will never forget, and I'm going to find the picture here. Like
Okay.
when you pulled up, so all you did was prick my finger, right?
Good.
And you pulled up on your video screen of what my blood looked like at that particular time. And do you remember what it looked like?
Oh, it was all stuck. It was all like rouleau and congested. Yeah.
Clumpy.
Very clumsy.
Clumps, clumps, clumps.
Yeah,
That's what my blood
it was
looked like.
and like the cells, they were missing like there was no nutrients in there. There was no oxygen. It was very low in iron. It was they were acting maybe at 60-70% capacity, which essentially is mitochondrial dysfunction. And mitochondrial dysfunction is literally the foundation for every autoimmune disease in existence.
Right. So I'm on this brink of going, no, no, no. I'm not getting an autoimmune disease. By the way, my numbers did go down after we started, working together years ago. But then it's like it's still bubbling under the surface, right?
Right.
And so what's fascinating to me is that I've been on eating protocol. I've been exercising. I've been doing so the fact that my cells are reflecting that frustrates the shit out of me on some level,
Right.
right?
Right.
And I would like for you to share, and let's talk about kind of give some people a concept of how you can integrate like your old world of or I'll say Western medicine and Eastern medicine. Let's just call it that, right, for
Okay.
simplicity purposes. So, do you remember what so you also tested the pH levels of my body and that I wasn't too asked my pH was fine, but it
Hmm.
was a cell thing. And remember what the first thing that you said to me?
Remind me.
We're gonna do a Cambo session.
Oh
And I
yeah,
was
of
like,
course.
I don't know if I'm gonna do that. So, can you explain? You're a Cambo practitioner. Can you
Yep.
tell people what that is? Like, this is one of those out of the box things that I was like, yeah, I
Yeah. Yeah. So combo is a frog that lives in the Amazon jungle, and it secretes this liquid that is extracted from the frog in a very safe and ethical manner, by the way. And it dries on the stick, and it is used to. It has 241 neuropeptides in it.
know.
But it also, because it comes from a living creature, it has a consciousness with it, right? And the combo frog does not have any enemies because of this secretion, it's like an optimal defense mechanism. If any animal tries to eat it or anything, it secretes the stuff and it kills them. Now, when we use it on our bodies,
So you gotta give me something that kills small animals. I just want people to hear that.
well,
Like,
I mean,
I get it. I'm just walking people through their mental process of how you got to think out of the box.
right, exactly.
So go ahead, keep going.
So to go further too, you have to burn holes in the skin in order to apply this stuff
What?
because the whole now when we burn holes in the skin, we're only going 1 or 2 layers
Yeah.
into the dermis. Okay, it's just a little bit. It's just enough to allow the wound allows this medicine to seep in all these neuropeptides into the body, and it goes directly into the lymphatic system. Now, when it goes in the body, on an energetic level, right? Combo does not contain the vibration of fear. So anything that's fear-based in the body is going to be attracted to it like a magnet, right? On a physiological level, what it's doing is it's sort of you get kind of like a fever and you get really, really sick for about 20, 30 minutes. And it's basically activating all the healing properties. It's like supercharging the immune system, right?
Yep.
So the immune system gets activated and it seeks out and really eradicates anything that's fear-based.
Yeah.
It also activates a lot of bile secretion, and it's really, really good for clearing out the liver. It just cleans everything out, and then you either sweat it out, puke it out, shit it out, like you purge it out in some way, shape, or form.
Right.
But this thing literally will eradicate any parasites, any pathogenic bacteria in the gut. It'll filter out heavy metals, especially through the sweat, which are very difficult to get out of the body. And we are bombarded with heavy metals from every angle in our society right now.
Yeah.
Right. But more importantly, it opens up all the energetic centers and it clears out the mind. It gets us out of our head and into our heart. Right. So, sort of through like, forcing it through. But a lot of people that are really strong in the mind, that are really stubborn, like I find that those people, like once they do have that big purge and they allow themselves to surrender and let go, it completely resets the central nervous system. It completely resets the body and the mind. And then you're in your heart. And when you've been in your mind for so long and you finally go into your heart, you feel so much more alive, so much more full of life, so much energy. It's like, wow, I didn't even know this existed. And then you have a reference point because now you're completely aligned, right? You go back out in the world and you see things from a different perspective. Say you've had a certain relationship with your spouse for 20 years, right? You do this, and then you go back and you connect with your spouse, and the conversation is going to feel different. You're going to feel like, wow, I really don't like how this is. But then it requires the courage and the strength to trust that feeling, that experience, to speak your truth and to walk into that next direction. So it's not like this is a end all be all, okay? But
no,
it's an amazing tool. And I personally I work with many tools like this because different things work better for different people, and that's really comes down to the more intuitive nature of what I do.
Right.
But Combo is an incredibly powerful process to sort of sledgehammer us out of that experience, and then we did an NAD.
So I was going to say, let's talk about the sledgehammer. So for those of you who are wondering, like after you just heard all that, did Julie do that? Yeah, I did. I understood that. Yeah. Here's the other thing that I've realized in doing some of this work is that when you're nervous and you're fearful, that's actually need to do it.
Yeah.
Because that means something is up and your body's trying to clear something. And so I did do Combo Day, and yes, I purged. Had me chug a bunch of water, and I got to tell you, I felt like $1,000,000. So what it was getting all the toxins out of my system that were there, right? That was a big detox. And then you're like, okay, well, I got this nurse coming over, and we're going to get IVs tonight. And I was like, oh yeah, I've gotten IVs before. We'll do that. No problem. And then you're like, okay, we're doing this thing called NAD. And I was like, okay, whatever the hell that is. And then I find it very funny that, Joe Rogan, had everybody's been like, Julie, didn't you talk about that NAD stuff? And now Joe Rogan just did it to help heal himself after getting coronavirus. I want to show everybody. This is what my cells looked like, if you guys can see that, after the NAD. This is
Yeah.
night and day. So what do you see there with the cells, Nam, when you see cells that shifted that much?
I see the cells are beautifully hydrated. They're full of nutrients. The mitochondria is nice and strong. They're not sticky, which means we evened out the pH. So the cell, NAD is like a is
There's
like
your hand.
a battery charger for the mitochondria, right?
Yeah,
So we're essentially bringing at the cellular level, we're bringing everything back to life from 60% back to 100%.
right.
And,
And
and
so,
that's also going to increase dramatically nutrient absorption and processing of emotions as well as foods.
yep.
So yeah,
Yeah. And so, what's been fascinating on this journey is that since I was open minded, and again, like this kind of stuff started with me back in 2015. I almost feel like I got the precursor to starting to get my body together. And halfway through that journey, I met you, right? And
hmm
you were like, oh God, he's got the other tools that I
yeah,
been looking for, but I didn't know what I was looking for. And I've always said, our health and our wealth are so interconnected that I now know to pay attention that if somebody's money situation is improving or it's fine, oh, their stuff's going to act out over here in their health or their relationships.
oh
I'm not
yeah,
confused about that. That's why I spend my time doing these things, because we want to make sure we're actually getting to the crux of what emotions are you stuffing down in your body. It doesn't mean that you're fat that you're stuffing them down. You could be
no.
completely healthy and your cells look like crap.
Some of
You
the
think you're appearing healthy.
some of the people that I know that are in the best shape that you would think of have the most unhealthy insides, and because a lot of people will actually use physical fitness as a crutch to control or stuff down their feelings.
Oh, yeah, right. And
Right?
so it's just about the fact that we have to start navigating things through, not through our mind and our ego, but through our hearts. And through that process, you're going to unpack the stuff that you've been stuffing all those years, or disease will develop in your body, or your relationship falls apart and then half your money goes out to the door for divorce, or, like
Right.
there's all these ways that it acts out in our circle of life of how we're plugging into the world in whatever ways and shapes that we're looking at. And Nam and I will continue to have this conversation. I know, I'm continuing to go on my journey. I've gotten a couple NAD plus, you know IV bags since then, and then some. And
Nice.
I'll continue to do some of the shamanic work, and because
Yeah.
obviously I'm drawn to that. And I just think that's fascinating how you merge in the work that you do these two different worlds, because you understand, you have a history of bodybuilding, you understand the body, like
Yeah.
you it's funny, you understand the body more than medical doctors that I've met, because
Well,
medical doctors understand like their section of the medical field, but they don't
right.
know how it all integrates. This is why functional medicine is on the rise.
It's booming. It's gonna continue to boom.
Booming.
Have you heard of this new technology that just came out called the MedBed?
I have, only from you mentioning it. Tell
Okay,
people.
so I actually have two chiropractor friends that got one. Um,
Really?
yeah, so the MedBed is one of these many technologies that when Trump was in office, he signed to have them declassified,
Mm.
right? I believe that David Wilcox is actually creating an anti gravity vehicle
Mm.
where like almost like a hovercraft. So all these things that seem science fiction are actually starting to really come true, and the technology's been here. It's just been suppressed. So this MedBed it's a quantum energetic medical system. Basically, you lay in this pod, and the pod scans you energetically and identifies every imbalance that you will have in your body. Basically, it measures it to your DNA, and whatever is out of alignment with your DNA, it'll pop up. Whether you have parasites, you have
Wow.
and then it'll actually adjust to a certain frequency that where that issue is, and it'll blast your body with that frequency and eliminate it. I've seen some crazy crazy stuff with this stuff.
Well, and it goes back to the fact that everything in the world is vibration and frequency, even
100%.
our bodies. I
Yeah.
explain, like, you plug in like this phone plugs in. We go into the quantum field just like anybody else. And,
Right.
my first introduction to that was Deepak Chopra years ago.
Okay.
He would always talk about, but he was coming from the old Indian medicine. And like a lot of people were there because they trusted him because he's a Western medicine MD and well
Right.
known. vibration. That was 20 years ago that I started doing
right?
that. And like now it's just starting to hit the fact that going, there's a lot to sound therapy. There's a lot to
Very
like
true.
like you're saying in the med bed. Like
Yeah,
it's unbelievable. It's
yeah,
really, really quite fascinating.
yeah.
So
I
Nam,
also
how do people go ahead? What were you saying?
I was going to say I also did this other really cool therapy the other day. I'm actually going to go do another session after I get off of here with you. Yeah, ozone therapy, but this ozone
Oh
therapy
yes.
is mixed with this PEMF therapy and something else too. But you lay in this. Oh yeah, it's infrared sauna. It's an ozone infrared sauna with PEMF technology right now.
Wow.
So it was like it was so intense. You sit in this pod with your head sticking out. It's like an infrared sauna, but with the ozone in there, it heats up and the ozone seeps into your tissue. And then about 10 minutes into it, they turn on this PEMF, which your feet are on like these metal plates, and there's like a metal plate on your back, and it starts pulsing these blasts of electromagnetic frequencies through your body, and that even opens your body up more to purge out all these toxins. I'll tell you what, like when I was done, I actually had like puddles of like brown grayish looking stuff like on the towel that I was sitting on because of all these toxins that I had in my body. And look, I do this kind of stuff constantly.
So for
My
you to have
body,
something brown is like
right? So really, detoxification, it should be a regular thing in everybody's life right now
well,
because
and it's interesting that you're saying that because I remember the first time I did combo, the woman, the practitioner, Sarah, who that's where I met
um,
you, right? Sarah was there.
yeah,
And it was fascinating to me that one of the women who was there, she said to her, she goes, "Oh, do you work in a hospital?" And she goes, "I do." And she goes, "Yeah, all the nurses and doctors, I know people work in the hospital system. When they purge from combo, it's always the darkest color because they're purging all the stuff that they see every day out of their own
yeah,
bodies." And
yeah,
you're like, oh.
right.
And
And
so we are our environment, whether it's stress or fear or whatever. And we all need to just keep cleaning through it. There are times that I sit there and I go, when is this going to stop? I'm like, well, this transition we're going through, all the change in all these systems that we started this show about,
hmm
that's not stopping. I remember you said to me the astrological chart said that this is going for another 3-4 years.
well, I mean, at this level, but to be perfectly honest, like we're not going
It's a
back.
lifetime.
This is going to continue, and I'd
Yeah.
say
It's
2025,
expansion.
2025, 2026 is where shit's going to get really weird. But we're going to go, I think by then we're going to be used to it. I'm talking about
Weird
telepathy.
being the new norm, maybe.
Yes, exactly. And also don't forget the other side of the coin with this too is as we clear out all this energy, especially ancestral trauma,
Right.
we're raising our vibration, but that actually makes us more susceptible to feeling other people's energy around us. That's why we have to be around like-minded people that are doing the work, because we're going to feel that low vibration energy even more. And if we're not careful, we're going to take it on. So the other side of the coin is we have to do the work more and more in order
Mm.
to protect ourselves from
Right.
that energy.
Totally.
Yeah.
Nam, how do people get a hold of you, you little big mouth of knowledge that people don't know about? You guys can notice
Chuck.
I'll click this on here. Here's his website and everything and his
Yep.
email address. Reach out to him. I mean, you're out in California.
Yep.
Um,
I
and
know
but
why did I
tell
move to
people.
California? I never would have thought that in a million years, but it brings me closer to my baby, so I'll do whatever it takes to be in my baby's life. But
And
you
she's a beautiful girl.
oh, thank you. Yeah, she's absolutely an angel. So you can go to my website, spiritualbodybuilder.com, and see all the different services I provide. You can also just email me at spiritualbbr@gmail.com. Right. If you have a question or you want to know something or interested in, whatever it is that we've talked about here, let me know and I'm happy to work with you. I look forward to
Well, and
seeing you.
even if you're not local, I'm assuming that you would do consulting appointments and going, okay,
100%.
find someone
Yeah.
near you that does da da da, and they can pay you for your time
Yeah.
to understand your knowledge base. Why not? Right?
Absolutely. I long distance. I can do about 3/4 of the services I provide: astrology readings.
Awesome.
And I also have like a large online group that I work with. I may be able to plug you in with people that are around you. So I'm all about networking, baby. That's what this whole new life is all about. So let's
Yeah, we're
let's
all in
let's
it together.
let's bring that vibration to the next level.
Woo woo!
Yeah.
let's do this. Yeah, let's have fun in this process as to it being like torture for everybody. It's
Yeah,
time for
right?
us
It should be
all to
fun.
just rise above and get to this next place. And
Amen.
and Nam, I know we're going to do this again. So it's just a matter
Oh,
of
yeah.
time. And so keep checking in. So everybody make sure you hit that like button, subscribe, and that notification bell so you know when we're coming back on so you can get some more
Mhm.
information, some more data. And
Amen.
Nam, again, I cannot thank you enough. I think you're amazing. And thank you for
Oh,
helping
thank
me
you.
on my journey as well.
And you've helped me just as much. So thank
Mm.
you. I'm so grateful for you and your friendship. And I see a lot more beautiful stuff for humanity.
Good
So
stuff.
let's keep getting it.
Let's do it. Woohoo. Thanks, everybody.
All right. Wow. I like that.